UConn went on the road and lost to a Creighton team 64-62 that was missing their starting point guard, Ryan Nembhard. Not the best result for my Huskies, but it was not something that I think was I don't think it's necessarily a backbreaker. So let's go to you first in this one, Prom. How big of a win is this for Creighton? They don't have their starting point guard, like I mentioned. But this is, I mean, they needed this win. We were talking about it off air. This Creighton team, they're on the bubble right now. And this is the kind of win that can put you onto the right side of the bubble.
Yeah, this was big, and I think they're on the right side of the bubble for sure now. You got to sweep over Marquette, you got to sweep over Connecticut, and you beat Villanova. I mean, that's 5 legit wins, and their youth was good again tonight. Now, obviously, Nemhard's a freshman, and you mentioned that he's out, but Hawkins, Kaluma, and Kalkbrenner, those guys were terrific tonight, and Hawkins as a senior leader, elder statesman on the group, even though he's a transfer, terrific. And they got off to a great start. And then obviously UConn's got some toughness and some grit to them, came back, and Creighton's a phenomenal place to play. So that environment tonight, I'm sure, was really, really good, but big win for Creighton for sure.
RC, what'd you think?
You know what? I've been saying this to you, and I know the averages talk about UConn having those 3 guys, but I often I know you're a big UConn fan, and I shared that with you. Whenever they're in a close game, my concern from a guard perspective is who shows up besides RJ Cole. And I get all this flack about, this guy averages this. When they're in close games, who is going to be that third guy? And I've said this. I know what the averages, the numbers tell me. I just want to know who's going to be that guy, and I'm concerned about that tonight. It's no different.
Yeah, their issue is that they basically have one guy that can create on his own, and their other go-to guy, Adama Sanogo, is someone that can get taken away really easily in the paint. Yep. And we saw Creighton do that for the second time this season. And it doesn't help when you got a 7-footer like Ryan Kalkbrenner out there on the defensive end of the floor. I just want to circle back on the Jays really quick and make one more point before we talk a little bit about UConn. This Creighton team is young and they have a lot of pieces. And I remember T.O. made this point earlier this season on one of these shows, is that when you are a year away, RC, by the time you get to the end of that season, you're basically what you're going to be the next year, right? When you say you got a lot of youth, you got a lot of inexperience, by the time you get to the end of that freshman year, you got to be ready to go. And it feels like this Creighton team, they may not have their star point guard, but that team was ready to go tonight.
We always said, if you're a freshman, when you hit sophomore, that second half of your conference play, you're as a freshman, you're a sophomore at that point. Like you've grown up, you've been battle tested, you've played in big games, you have an idea of what the league is going to be like, and it's just time to grow up. So you're right. As you get to this point, heading into March, it tells you have an idea of where your squad is trending as far as the next year. And Creighton is going to be, man, if they get everybody back, I think they'll be a preseason top 25 team.
Yeah, I agree. You agree, Prom?
Yeah, I do. I like this team, and they've gotten better all year long. Obviously, early in the year, you got young guys. You're going to take some growing pains, have some growing pains. But if you're third place, we said this off air. If you're third place in the Big East, I mean, what are we talking about? The bubble. I mean, come on now. They're third place. They've won 11 games right now, I believe, in the Big East. 11. And we're saying people have them as a last 4 in or a first 4 out or possible, last 4 buys or whatever it may be. They're deserving an NCAA tournament bid for sure.
Yeah, I think they locked it up after this one, right? I mean, they're just 12. They're 12-6 in the Big East. Like, I don't know. I'm wondering who
is it 12-6 now. So when
12-6,
yeah, you're 12-6 in the Big East, and you're not. I mean, you're not a 6 seed. I mean, who's doing these? Who's doing these?
I mean, if you want to know the reason why, it's because their metrics aren't great. Yeah. They're in low 60s in the net. They're low 60s in KenPom, and those are the kind of metrics that a lot of these people value when it comes to where you get seeded. Now, for my understanding is that who gets into the tournament and who gets left out of the tournament does not have all that much to do with the number next to your name with the net and with the number next to your name with KenPom. It has a lot to do with where you get put into that bracket and where you get slotted and where you are seated. And because Creighton has those numbers that aren't great, then they're probably going to end up kind of being on that 10 or 11 line. Now, that said, picking up another home win against UConn is going to be something that helps them and gives them a little bit of a boost. Are you guys RC, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but are either of you worried about UConn kind of big picture when it comes to March? Like I've seen different people mention them as being a threat in March and a threat in some of these settings. And I think a lot of that has to do with the pedigree this group has. As someone that watches them every day, I I sit here, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I'm always pessimistic about the teams that I root for. I'm probably the worst fan on the planet, but it's I watch them and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about a run here.
I don't see them making out of the first weekend. I think they're tough. I think they're well coached, but again, their Achilles heel all year has been, who else is going to create on this team besides RJ Cole? Who else is they going to get the ball to and give him a bucket? Size inside bothers Sanogo a little, and he's not the biggest guy. He plays hard, his motor and all that, but I just they've had a good year, no question about it. That was been my concern all year long in close games. Who else besides RJ Cole is going to be able to step up and handle it? And I've had that question from the beginning, and I still have it now. And I don't think it's nothing that UConn has done has shown me anything to be, overly, like figure that they fixed that. It's just my belief in how they are. I don't know what else.
Who they are. That's what they are this year. You agree, Steve?
I agree. Whether it's a 6-11, 5-12, 7-10 game, they obviously they'd be disappointed if they lost that first game, but can they win the second one? That may be tough on them to do that, but there's no question, like Randolph said, man, Danny's got them established and obviously laid a great foundation, and they're headed in the right direction for sure.
My big thing, self-inflicted mistakes. Dumb turnovers, bad turnovers in transition, not being aware of where the help side is coming from, getting your pocket picked in the post, Damasanogo throwing the ball out of bounds, Andre Jackson throwing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs at a center's head when he's running full speed and train. Like it's those little things that turn. If you do 2 or 3 of those things in a perfect example, they go on that 12-on run to open the second half, right? They cut the lead 37-36. That crowd, 18,000 people in there, silent. Next 2 they have the ball. Next 2 possessions, turnover, easy layup. They get a bad shot at the basket, like like 20 seconds left, runner at the rim, transition, layup the other way, come down, another turnover, and then they get fouled. Creighton gets fouled at the other end. So it's a quick 6-0 run that just kills all the momentum you had, and it's those simple mistakes that are just backbreakers.